I was standing on the bow of a pleasure yacht and watching the sunset. A gust of wind suddenly snatched my hat away and it fell into the water. I leaned over the side of the boat, trying to catch it, when the yacht was suddenly rocked by a wave and I almost fell overboard after my hat. However, a strong arm grabbed me by the waist and did not let me fall.
A hat isn't worth risking your life over.
Back then, I didn't know that meeting would change my life. Hi, I'm Elizabeth. My mom was a senator, and I was raised to be a lady. I studied etiquette, played the piano, and prepared for exams to an elite college that all future politicians went to. My parents made all the decisions for me, who I should be friends with, who I could date, and so on. I wanted them to be proud of me and never argued with them. Traveling was a breath of fresh air for me. I studied several foreign languages, and my parents often sent me to different countries to practice them. One day, they got me tickets to a small town in Eastern Europe. I wanted to go for a walk around the city, but Joseph, my bodyguard, wouldn't let me go anywhere alone.
Elizabeth, this city is run by an ancient Mafia clan. I dread to imagine what would happen if you fell into their hands.
That was the last straw for me. I'd had enough of being told what to do. I decided to disobey for once and ran away from Joseph. I spent the day walking around the city, and in the evening, I bought a yacht ticket to watch the sunset. You saw what happened next at the beginning of the video. I got careless and I almost fell overboard, only to be saved by a mysterious stranger. I looked at him and I was left speechless. I'd never seen anyone so handsome. Thank you for not letting me fall.
Anyone in my place would have done the same. You have an unusual accent. Where are you from?
I told him my real name, but said I was an exchange student, and he politely kissed my hand. Wow, he had great manners.
Nice to meet you. I'm Stefan.
He told me it was actually his yacht that we were on, and asked me if I wanted to watch the sunset on the bridge with him. I agreed, and I didn't regret it. The view was magnificent. How did you get your own yacht?
My dad is rich, but I'd rather not talk about that.
The next few hours flew by. We chatted about everything. Stefan was strong, smart, and really handsome. He was perfect. He made me believe in love at first sight. It soon got dark, and we got off the yacht with the rest of the passengers. Oh no, my bodyguard was already waiting for me there, furious.
Elizabeth, what were you thinking? I was worried sick trying to find you.
He grabbed my arm and tried to drag me to the car, but Stefan stopped him.
Take your hands off her. She clearly doesn't want to go with you. What? Who are you? Get lost.
They glared at each other. Then some scary-looking guys got out of a car with tinted windows and came up to Stefan.
Is there a problem here, boss? Need some help?
Why did they just call him boss? I didn't want a fight to break out because of me, so I told Stefan that Joseph was my older brother. It's okay. I really do need to go back to the hotel. At parting, he kissed my hand again.
Good night then, my lady.
Wow. I thought guys only did that in romantic dramas. Later, Joseph lectured me about my behavior, but I ignored my bodyguard's grumbling. All I could think about was Stefan. We spent only one evening together, but I felt like I'd known him forever. The next morning, someone knocked on the door to my room. I opened it, and the hotel staff brought in baskets with flowers. My room turned into a blooming garden. What's going on? Who is this all from? I saw a note in one of the baskets. It was from Stefan. He was inviting me for breakfast. Can you imagine? It was so romantic. I snuck out of the hotel so that Joseph wouldn't follow me and went to the cafe I'd been invited to. Stefan was already waiting for me there.
I couldn't stop thinking about you.
I shyly confessed that I couldn't get him out of my head either. Stefan smiled and leaned towards me. Our lips were so close. Just a little more and he would have kissed me. But then the waiter brought our food and the moment was broken.
Try this coffee with ice cream and cinnamon. You'll like it.
I took a sip. It was delicious. And then Stefan turned serious and asked me why I'd lied to him and hadn't told him that I was a senator's daughter. How did you find out about that?
The hotel you're staying in belongs to my family. I know everything about its guests.
I blushed and apologized for lying to him. I said that just once I'd wanted to be an ordinary girl. He didn't get mad and even called me cute. After that, we spent the day walking around the city. I was over the moon. But soon, I noticed something odd. Wherever we went, people looked at Stefan with fear and respect. Those gloomy thugs I'd seen followed us around in cars with tinted windows.
They are my bodyguards. My parents want me to always be supervised.
Oh, I get that. I ran away from my bodyguard every day to go on dates with Stefan. Of course, it was driving Joseph crazy. He didn't approve of my boyfriend, but I didn't care. After all, when I was with Stefan, the rest of the world ceased to exist. One day, we were standing on a bridge under the starry sky, and Stefan told me he loved me. I felt like the happiest girl in the world. But the next moment, the fairy tale turned into a waking nightmare. Joseph found us and said that he knew the truth about Stefan.
This guy is extremely dangerous, Elizabeth. He's the heir of a Mafia clan. Your meeting could not have been a coincidence. He has to be up to something.
What? I couldn't believe it. It had to be some sort of mistake. But Stefan was avoiding my eyes. What he said next broke my heart.
It's true. My relatives are not businessmen, but mafioso. But I would never hurt my lady.
Had I really fallen in love with the future head of a Mafia clan? Now it was clear why everyone in the city was so afraid of him. Holy crud!
I'm sorry that I hid the truth about myself, but I really do love you.
I didn't believe his words, and I went back to the hotel with Joseph. I cried into my pillow for days. I couldn't accept that I had fallen for a criminal. Stefan kept trying to apologize. He sent me flowers and gifts. One day he stood under my window and shouted that he wouldn't leave until we talked. It soon got dark and started to rain, but Stefan still wouldn't leave. I couldn't bear it any longer, and I stepped out onto the balcony.
Elizabeth, I don't want to lose you. I know we're from different worlds, but we can find a way to be together.
I can't be with a criminal. Leave the Mafia if you really love me.
I can't go against my family.
And I can't go against my conscience. Goodbye, Stefan. I went back inside and I burst into tears again. I was supposed to go back to America the next day, but I still had some free time and decided to go on one more walk around the city. I visited all the places that Stefan and I had been to, and then some guy blocked my way.
Hey, cutie, let's see what's in your purse.
Stay away from me! I was shaking with fear. I hadn't told my bodyguard where I was going, so there was no one around to help me. But then, I heard a familiar voice that I loved so much.
Get away from her.
Stefan was my personal guardian angel. He showed up every time I was in trouble and saved me.
You're the young Mafia king. I'm sorry, I don't want any trouble.
The guy turned pale with horror and ran away with his tail between his legs. I couldn't help but throw my arms around Stefan's neck. Thank you! I was so scared.
No matter what happens, I will always come to your rescue, my lady.
Stefan was a Mafia boss, and I was a good girl from a family of politicians. But I was drawn to him like a magnet, and I couldn't do anything about my feelings. We made up and promised each other that even the distance wouldn't break our bond.
I will text you every day, and one day,
we will meet again. Soon, Joseph and I went back home. To my relief, he promised not to tell my parents about my adventures. Thank you. They would have grounded me forever.
You're like a sister to me. Besides, I don't want to get fired.
A policeman came up to me at the airport, startling me.
Miss, you were seen in the company of a mafioso. He's wanted in America. We want to put him in prison. Do you know anything that might help us?
He showed me a photo of Stefan and me taken at the airport. I didn't want my boyfriend to go to jail, so I lied to the police. I don't know this guy. He hugged me because he mistook me for someone else.
Sorry for bothering you then.
Phew. Seems like they believed me. I came back home and life went on as usual. I took etiquette and piano lessons again. My mother told me I would have to attend some important event soon.
The cream of the crop is going to be there. You should make a good impression on them. Your future depends on it.
But I couldn't concentrate. After all, I was too busy pining for Stefan. Nothing in the world made me happier than his cute texts. That went on until Mom turned my whole world upside down. She brought some guy home and said that he was to be my husband. Excuse me?
This is Antonio. He comes from a very good family. We've decided you are going to get married. It's a pleasure to meet you, my lady.
Ugh, when he said it, it sounded disgusting. I didn't want to get to know Antonio. Unfortunately, I couldn't tell my parents that I already had a boyfriend. They definitely wouldn't have approved of my choice. I had to put on a show and go on fake dates with Antonio. Everyone said we were a perfect couple. He was nice and gallant when we were in public, but when we were left alone, Antonio didn't bother to hide that he was a narcissistic hypocrite.
Let's be honest, Elizabeth. Feelings are for poor people. Considering our status, it's no wonder we aren't marrying for love.
Everyone around me was obsessed with their status. What Stefan and I had was real, and I missed it. One evening, I was feeling especially miserable, and Stefan texted me.
Are you all right?
Why do you ask?
I don't know. My heart told me something wasn't right.
I told him that my parents were making me date a moron who was in love with his own reflection and treated me like an accessory. Stefan ignored all my messages after that. Was he mad at me? That was just the cherry on top of everything else. I decided to get my mind off things and I went to a cafe. I was watching a K-drama when a waiter put a coffee with ice cream and cinnamon in front of me. I didn't order this.
It's a gift for the most beautiful girl in the world.
I looked up and realized it was Stefan with a mustache glued on. I threw my arms around him. OMG! What are you doing here? It turns out he had came to surprise me. He could only stay for a couple of hours, but he wanted to cheer me up. He was wearing the mustache as a camouflage. After all, he was wanted in America. It was crazy, but so romantic. We went for a walk, and Stefan said that I was in for another surprise soon. I didn't understand what he meant until my parents told me that evening that Antonio and his family were no longer interested in our marriage of convenience. I pretended to be terribly upset while screaming for joy on the inside. Later, I called Stefan. How did you do it?
Antonio and I had a little chat. I told him if he didn't leave you alone, he'd be dealing with me.
I knew Stefan was dangerous, but I loved him with my whole heart. Since that moment on, he visited me whenever he could. Luckily, he had a private plane for that. Finally, it was the day of the important event my mom had prepared me for. I was dying of boredom. Stefan was supposed to come and take me away, but hours were passing by and he was nowhere to be seen. I was getting worried. And then I accidentally overheard a conversation between my mother and the local police chief. He was telling her that his department had caught a mafioso that often visited our country in secret. At that very moment, he was awaiting his trial at the station. I got dizzy. Stefan was in jail. He had always saved me, and now it was my turn to rescue him. I stole Mom's phone and I called the police station, telling them to hand over the criminal to my employee. Then I grabbed the car keys and was about to go there. However, Joseph stood in my way.
I know what you're up to.
I teared up and I begged my bodyguard to please let me through. He eventually gave in.
I might get fired, but I'll help you.
The two of us arrived at the station. I stayed in the car while Joseph showed his ID to the police, proving he worked for a senator. They let Stefan go.
Yes, the police chief knows about this. He's at the gala with the senator right now.
As soon as my boyfriend got in the car, I told Joseph that I could handle it from there. Thank you. You really are like an older brother to me. Now go. I don't want you to get in trouble. I hit the gas and I drove Stefan to his private plane.
Elizabeth, what are you doing?
Saving you from prison. I knew that the police were probably already chasing after us and we didn't have much time. Fly away, my love.
I won't be able to come back here. This might be the last time we're seeing each other.
But you will be free. That's enough for me to be happy. We swore to always love each other, and Stefan stepped into the plane. I couldn't hold back tears because I knew I would never be seeing him again.
Goodbye, my lady.
As soon as the plane took off, the cops arrived. My worried mom got out of one of the cars.
Elizabeth, what have you done? You're grounded for the rest of your life.
I was put under house arrest for 6 months. I wasn't allowed to use my phone or have any fun, really. But I didn't regret anything. What mattered was I saved Stefan. I even convinced everyone that I'd blackmailed Joseph into helping me, so he wasn't fired. 6 months after that, Mom finally relented and took me to France with her. I really needed a change of scenery. Mom had to attend a lot of business meetings, so I often walked around Paris alone. One day, I came to a cafe with a view of the Eiffel Tower. The view was magnificent. I wished Stefan was there to see it. And then the waiter put a cup in front of me.
Your coffee, my lady.
That voice. My heart started pounding. Stefan was standing in front of me. I can't believe it. What are you doing here? It turned out what I did had made him turn his life around. He left the Mafia, moved to Paris, and now worked as an ordinary waiter. How did you know that I would be here too?
My heart told me. And also this.
He showed me a news article about a senator and her daughter coming to France on an official visit. Stefan and I had many trials ahead of us, but I knew we would overcome everything. He kissed me as the sun set, and the kiss tasted of coffee with ice cream and cinnamon.